Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Agape Purpose Podcast. And today I'm joined by an incredible young lady. I have the honor to call her my intern, Katie Souza. Katie, how are you?
Hi, Jack. I'm doing good. I'm really excited to be here. This time not on the board.
That's right.
Right here in the hot seat.
I'm
excited.
I'm ready for all the questions I get to throw at you now. And you have to answer it because it's going to be on them.
I will. That's part of my evaluation.
That's right. No, Katie, I think it's just so unique. You know, I get to hear your story, what brought you to Agape. I think it'll be interesting for you to kind of, pour your heart out, let people see who you are as a person. So let's start with that. What brought you to Agape Flights? What interested you in an internship here?
Yeah, for sure. So I am from Sarasota originally, and I first found out about Agape when I was in high school. Interestingly enough, my dad and I were just driving by, and I saw Agape, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? That man knows everything. So of course he knew what Agape was. And he told me, and I just thought it was really cool because, I mean, obviously being a Christian my whole life, I was like, that's amazing that they're serving others in need. And then fast forward, now a junior in college, I needed an internship, and I feel like God always kept Agape in my mind. So I was like, let me just shoot an email to Carol, our chief of staff, and see if there was any possibility for me to intern there, because I felt like it was just the Lord through that. So that's my little Agape story.
I love that. And then, we just got this random, application. I'm like, who's Katie Souza? And then we just looked at it and just saw all the incredible things that you're doing at your school. You go to Florida Gulf Coast right now. So
I do. Tell
about that experience. What are you doing there? What are you pursuing in your degree?
Mm-hmm. Yes, like I said, I'm a junior at FGCU, and I'm majoring in journalism with a minor in marketing. I am doing a lot. I'm trying to be as involved as I can, make the most out of college. That being there is a testimony in and of itself, I feel like, because I never really pictured myself in college, which is kind of crazy. Like, looking back my junior year, I was like, I might just do, I don't know, like a technical college or like a 2-year college, but the Lord just made a way financially for me to go. So I started out as a journalism major because I just love to write and communicate, tell stories. That's a big part of who I am. And so it's been great there. I have a campus job where I'm the marketing assistant at the library. That's been so fun, honestly. And also I'm involved with my ministry. It's called Impact Christian Campus Fellowship. That's just been a blessing since day one, like my freshman year, having that fellowship with other people and growing my relationship for the first time in my life, kind of more independently of my parents.
What is the Independent Christian Fellowship? What do you guys do?
So we do like weekly dinner and devotions. And so it's every Wednesday night, and we'll just gather together, have a meal, talk to each other, get to know each other and our faith. And then we have a campus minister, and he'll usually share a devotional, a message. And so it's just really encouraging because it really applies to young adults in our lives, in college, pursuing a future, a career, and whatever it may be. So it just provides a lot of guidance, and I feel like it helps me get closer to God there in college, where it can be, college is a little tough.
Of course,
but yeah, so it's definitely been a blessing to be part of that group.
Yeah, and especially, you're so young in your life right now, and finding those people that you can grow in faith with is so rare, even in college when you see these people. But like once you find those people and you latch onto it, it's just something that those are relationships you have for life. Like I remember I have a friend whose name's CJ. We don't talk as much as we used to in college, but man, he was one of those people in college. I was like, I'm never going to not be friends with that guy, because his heart was always just, it was on fire for God, and it was on fire for service. And I was like, I want to emulate that. So when you find people like that, especially in college, it's like, hey, you're my friend for life. Deal with it.
It's so amazing. I met my best friend there literally that first week. It was our first week. And she's great. And just having that person, like you said, it's so fruitful. We keep each other accountable. Like, we help grow in our faith together. And it's just so amazing to have those friendships. So I'm so grateful for that group.
I love it. So I figured, we'll make this a little bit of a learning experience for Katie. So Katie's going to ask me some questions. A lot of you guys don't realize that I have a unique foundational story with Agape Flights. So I'm going to let Katie take over this interview. She's going to lead it. She's going to ask some questions, and we're just going to get right into it.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, I'm excited. So can you tell us a little bit about your origin story here at Agape? I know it, but a lot of people don't know it, and they're going to need to hear it because it's just so great.
Yeah, a lot of people think that, I just came here as a communications director. No, back in 2006, my dad was working on getting his airframe mechanic license, and I apologize, I'm probably butchering what that really is, but he was working on getting that, and he was called to serve in the mission field. He didn't know where, he didn't know how, but he was like, this is what God's calling me to get. So we're in little Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He's going to Piedmont Baptist College, and he just goes to just a random little seminar, and he sees something, Agape Flights, and he's like, Agape Flights, and he does a little research. He sees that it's based in Florida, but they minister here all over the Caribbean. And he's like, well, I got 2 sons. One's about to graduate high school, and one's about to go into 10th grade. He's like, I really don't want to disrupt their life entirely by taking them out of the country right when they're about to start their own lives. So he was like, he reached out to God, and he kind of just kind of poured his heart out to God and said, what, is this the right place? And doors just flung open. And it was, he reached out to the executive director at the time, Charlie Gardner, because they were hiring, and one thing led to another. And my dad came down here, and when I think he came down in 2005. Me and my brother finished my freshman year and his junior year in college in high school in Winston-Salem. And so then we came down here, and my dad started working for Agape Flights, and Agape Flights just became our second family. Like every holiday, I just remember we would always go to Charlie's house, and we would always have prime rib. That was the thing Charlie loved to have, was prime rib. I remember Jeff Yanisello's kids, the Mark Mickhart's kids, there's so many people that I just grew up with, like John Neeson. John Neeson was just a big brother for me. He used to do a little bit of everything here. He was development, HR, whatever his titles were. But at the end of the day, I looked at him as like, hey, that's my big brother I can go to if I don't want to tell my brother. I don't want to tell my parents, but I can tell John and see what John would want to tell. And I don't even know if he remembers all of that, but I grew up here. These were foundational relationships I built. Now, I say all that. When I graduated, I actually had my graduation party in this hangar.
No way.
I did.
Oh my gosh.
And I just remember I was mad at my dad for something. And I just said to him, I was like, I'm never coming back to this hangar. Like, just trying to be a teenager angst. Like, I'm going to try to make my dad hurt. And I just kind of like look back and laugh, because I was talking to my dad about that. And he was like, yeah, that was the first moment you learned where you never say never to God.
Nope.
And so, that just kind of led to, I went to college. My dad, was trying to get a little bit closer to home. So they departed Agape, obviously on good terms, nothing wrong there. And, it flash forward, 10 plus years. And here I am, where I said that I'd never come, because God opened the door and said, this is where you're supposed to be.
Oh my gosh. I love that story. I've heard a little bit about it before, but being able to hear it, like you described before, full circle, literally.
Yeah.
And it's just so amazing how God, like, you might have had your plans, but he's always like, nope, this is my plan for your life. It's so 100%. Much greater than you could ever imagine. So I want to hear, what is your dad, like, that originally when you applied for the position, what did he say? Like, what was his reaction to that?
So it's funny, because because I was in college when my dad left Agape Flights. And so I was like, I didn't know why he left. And I was like, did he leave on bad terms or something? So I was like, the first job that I applied for, and that's a story all in itself. Like, I was running my own marketing firm, and it was the time that God was like, you need to start working for me. And the first job that I saw that was available was communications director at Agape Flights. And I just like, did my dad have leave on bad terms or something? So I called my dad, and I was like, I told him my story. I was like, God's calling me to work in ministry. What was your experience like at Agape? Obviously, flying colors, obviously every job has its, ups and downs and stuff. But like he said, the mission is all that matters. And then he's like, I can't recommend that job enough for you. And so I was like, okay, God. So again, the back of my head, I hear is like, I'm never coming back to this hangar. And I was like, my dad worked there. I have to live up to his standards and stuff. And I was just like, oh, what are you trying to tell me, God? And so, I reached out to one of my mentors, Jim Fobister, and I was just like, what do you think about this? And he said, oh yeah, I've already, you need to take that job. And so he's like, here's Alan Spear's number. Text him. And I was just like, text? Why am I? It was so uncomfortable, because it was like me stepping out in faith, saying like, I'm going to just text a random guy and be like, hey, I'm qualified for this position. My dad worked here. Like, it was just a weird moment, but it was just like, oh, this is completely God pushing me towards this.
Totally.
Like, I would be I would be almost blasphemous to ignore all the signs. Yeah. And so I texted Alan, and one thing led to another. He led me to Carol, like all doors at Agape, like goes through Carol because she's just phenomenal like that. And we interviewed, and I think we just kind of both fell in love with each other and realized that it was just a perfect fit. I felt this is where God called me. They felt like this is where God was calling me. Yeah, well, I think both sides had their own trepidations because, my dad worked here, and it's like, well, what were his expectations? And
exactly.
Carol was working here when I was in high school. So
oh really?
So I remembered Carol, and so it's just it was just so cool because like there was no fear in that hiring process. It was just like, oh, this is gonna happen. To be honest with you, like not a lot of people know. I didn't apply for any other jobs because I knew this is the spot God called me for.
Oh my gosh. So. That's so incredible. I love hearing that. It's so beautiful just to see how God works behind the scenes, just to orchestrate everything so perfectly. It's amazing. And so you said that before you got here, you had your own marketing agency. So take me through, like, after you graduated college, how did you get here career-wise?
Oh, that's a story in itself. So when I graduated high school, I went to college to get a biblical theology degree. I worked through that. I was playing college basketball, loving life, just not really caring about what my future was going to be really look like. I was focused on basketball and just getting through college. I ended up in our very first college basketball game. We were playing an exhibition game. I went up for a dunk in garbage time because we were beating this team by like 30 points, and I wanted to show off, of course, and the other team didn't like us, and the guy went up and chicken winged me, brought me down, dislocated my shoulder, and tore my pec. And so, like, the doctors were just like, basically like, yeah, this is basketball might not be for you. And I, of course, devastated. Like, I love basketball. School and basketball were my life at that point.
Yeah.
So I went home. At this time, my family was now living in Charleston, South Carolina. I went home, wallowed in some pity for a little bit. Then I met a man at a church named Charles Mayo who decided to pour on me. See, I'm trying not to get emotional because this man means so much to me. He saw a broken person, a person that was a Christian but not living as a Christian.
Right.
And he just pulled me aside and said, "God's not done with you."
Oh my gosh.
And I listened to him. There's people in your life when they say something to you, they say that God's saying it.
Yeah.
Don't ignore that calling. It's life-changing. When he said those words, there was a fervor that was reignited in me. There was a purpose in God's kingdom again that I felt. And at that point, I was still, rehabbing my shoulder. I wanted to play college basketball again, trying to ignore what the doctor said. I ended up getting another offer at a Christian college called Clearwater Christian College to play basketball. So I came down and played there. Ended up messing my shoulder up again.
Oh no.
And I was at the point where I was like, God's telling me, hey, basketball is not life. It's time to move on to the next portion. Like I still play every now and then, but like there's no competitive nature from that. But so I was like, okay, God, I am a purpose-driven person. You're taking one of my purposes for my life. What am I supposed to do now? And he said, communicate. Those were the words God spoke into my life was communicate. And I said, what does that mean? So
broad.
Exactly. Sometimes, God, I feel like he speaks so broad because he wants you to figure it out.
Exactly.
He wants you to put in the work to realize why that it's so important. So I started to try to understand what that meant. I started trying to do any position I could at a church. I was cleaning the toilets at the church. I was coaching upwards. I was trying to work with the production team, and I was trying to teach a little bit here and there, but like I just felt so much purpose behind a camera and telling people stories. When I get to stand behind someone's stories, helping them tell a story that is so unique, that is so driven by God, I felt fulfillment. So I started to pursue that. At the same time, in my professional life, I'd always been called, the first college I was at, I was pursuing a law degree. So I started to reignite that. So I graduated with my biblical theology degree, which the school went under, so I technically don't have that degree.
Oh,
yeah, Clearwater
really?
Christian College is not a college anymore.
Oh my gosh! So you don't have the it's not valid, or
well, I'm like technically 3 credits short, but it's
oh my gosh!
And I could go to Cedar, like there's a whole thing, but I was just like, this isn't the field that I need. So I was like, I'm not going to pursue this. So at this time, I enrolled at UF and worked on getting my criminology degree because I was like, that's a great foundation. I was talking to people. They're like, you could get a poli-science. You can do
there's so much you could do.
Yeah, exactly, to work towards getting that law degree. I just started to fall in love with the criminology aspect of it, the forensic sciences behind it, the anthropology aspects of it. And I said, okay, God, what is this supposed to mean? You're telling me to do communications, but you're also calling me to a passion inside of the, criminal science world. And so
it's like polar opposites.
Yeah, exactly. And so
what does this mean?
And at this time, I just married my beautiful wife. And so I started a family, and I was like, you're calling me to 2 different worlds, God. What is this? And God was like, I'm not telling you to stop. And so I'm just sitting there trying to heed the word. So I'm self-teaching myself in the world of communications. I'm working on like marketing licenses. I'm working on, how to use a camera correctly, how to use, how to use Premiere Pro. I'm self-teaching myself, but at the same time, I'm pursuing this degree as well. And so then, basically I just like, okay, I got to take a next step. So I applied for an internship at the local sheriff's office to do forensic sciences. And as I did that, a person retired, and they're like, yeah, we really don't want to, look outside. Do you want this job? And so like, technically you have to have a degree in that field to take this job. But they knew I was pursuing it. And so they were like, yeah, you do great work. We'll hire you. So they hired me for that. At the same time, I am still working in communications. At this point, I was doing commercials for Ford and Toyota. But that would be taking me, out of the country or state, for like 4 to 5 months. And newly married person, that's not healthy. So I'm talking a lot.
No, keep going. This is so interesting, literally.
I had to take a step back from that. And so it was really cool of God to open that door in the science world of criminology. And so I just jumped full force into that, still doing, moonlighting in my marketing and helping small businesses locally and doing that. Because once you have that passion inside of this world, you don't lose it.
Yeah.
So at that point, I do that for about 4 or 5 years. That job's really hard on your body. It's ironic because majority of my coworkers were 5'1" women, and here I am. I'm 6'7" and trying to squeeze into the tight places where they can squeeze in quite easily. And so my body started breaking down from that. Till one day I worked a crime scene. I was just on my hands and knees processing some shoe prints, and I just felt my left side of my body just completely collapse. And I'm just like, okay, this isn't a stroke because I can talk right now, but what is going on?
Yeah.
So I call my boss and tell her what's happening, and she's like, you need to go to the doctor. So I go to the doctor, and after numerous tests, MRIs, that I'm told like you have 8 herniated discs in your thoracic areas.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm like, God, I've never had injuries before in college or this. Like I broke 1 bone my whole life, never sprained anything, nothing. And so I was like, God, you keep giving me injuries to take me to my next page of my life.
Right.
And I'm kind of tired of the injuries to push me. And so it's just a funny aspect of that. And so, unfortunately I had to medically retire from the, forensic sciences because it's really hard to pull a 300-pound man when your back's broken. So, a lot of prayer with me and my wife at this point was just like, what direction do I go from here? And the easy answer was just to stay where I was in the communications and just do that full time. So I just started picking that up, doing that full time, making awesome money that can help sustain, but I just didn't have purpose.
Yeah.
I remember distinctively that there was a date. It was in 2022. God said to me, he's like, you need to start working for me.
Wow.
No, you don't say wow yet. I ignored that calling. So from 2022 until basically the day I applied here at Agape Flights. I was ignoring that. I was like, I don't want to work in ministry. I've seen what happens in ministry. I've seen friendships get destroyed by that. I was like, why would I want to risk that? Like, I don't want to get into any of that nitty gritty. And God's like, get over yourself. like there's no denying it. Like, any job is going to have that aspect. And so, like, for me, it was finally realizing that I am not as big as God's plan is. God's plan is bigger than anything.
Yeah.
We can't outrun it either.
No, you can't run away from God. You can't.
So I was working with a client. This was literally the day before I applied at Agape Flights. I was working with a client, and I was just, if you know me, I talk to anyone. Like, I just,
you're so friendly.
Yeah. So I was just telling him, I was just like, man, I love doing this. It's such an incredible feeling, but sometimes I lose the purpose. And the guy looks at me and he's like, because he obviously knew I was a Christian as well, because that's the first thing I ask people most of the time.
Right.
So he was just like, well, why are you not doing it in ministry? And I was just like, I don't want to do it in ministry. And he's like, but they need you in that.
Yeah.
And it was just a random guy, like, and I couldn't even tell you his name, to be honest with you.
Oh my God.
And he was just a random guy, and it just was kind of like a punch into my chest. And it was just like, oh yeah, like, this isn't about me. My life isn't just for me. It's for every aspect. It's for every person that I'm going to be touching. So long story short, the next day I applied here at Agape Flights. So that is a very long story short.
No, that's so good. Literally, just the way God's hands were working through that. Even that man, he placed him there. You know what I mean? Put that as a reminder. And I love that you've told me stories before. You hear God's voice so clearly. I feel like, and you respond to it. You know what I mean? And you're using the gifts that he gave you to be able to tell stories and be, his hands and feet, an ambassador of Christ through the work you do here. So that's just so amazing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are scared because they're like, it's really hard to say that God clearly says something. And for me, it's like, look at your walk, because that's when I don't hear God, that's when I know my walk's in trouble.
Yeah.
I think if you don't realize that God will talk to you if you want to listen, you just have to open your heart, find that path that you're supposed to be walking on with God, and he will talk to you. Like, there's no denying that. Like, speaking with people here, speaking with these missionaries every day, like, we get to hear that. When you're walking on the path, God's going to use you. He's going to talk to you. He's going to use himself through you to lead so many people to him.
Yeah.
You just have to open that path for him.
Definitely. It's all about, exactly, being in tune with his will and what he wants you to do. Oh, yeah. So you're coming up on a year, right, of being here?
Tomorrow will be a year.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations. So
Thank you.
Tell me about, like, your time here, what it's looked like, and then what your day really looks like as communications director, because this is also a new position that Agape created, correct?
It is. Yeah. So, thank you for thinking of that. That's a great question. Here at Agape, I have a freedom to express what Agape does in any path that I feel led. And I don't want you to think that's me saying Alan and Carol are hands off. They're not willing. There is a trust and understanding of, like, hey, this is where your calling is. We're going to trust that God leads you through it. But at the same time, they're like, hey, we're here to help you. We're here to guide you on this path as well. And so for me, it's constantly just looking at how other ministries are basically reaching out. How are they communicating? How are they telling a story? And for lack of better words, my job is to find a way to do it better.
Right. It really is.
Exactly,
yeah, this industry. I get that.
Like, we are a nonprofit 100%, but we're also donor driven. So, like, everything we do is because of our donors. So for me, my job is to find more donors and, keep those relationships with our donors that we have, so they understand what we're doing matters. What we're doing furthers the kingdom, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what our donors care about, is helping others and furthering the kingdom of God. So if we can do that and we can tell that story, I feel like Agape has a full runway, for lack of better words.
Yeah, I know, right?
So a day for me, basically, I'll go through a Friday. So a Friday basically is, I get here, I go through our social media, I try to respond to people if they reached out to us, through mail, whatever medium they feel like they want to. Then I start content planning. So, for me, it's like, okay, which which medium is working, which medium are people receptive of, what do they want to look for. And so I start working on that, and then, if we have a item of content that is a written or something that's going to be put out, I start working on that. So like right now, me and you are working on Flightline.
Mm-hmm, we are.
So I start looking at that. And I start, first I go to prayer and I say, God, what are we supposed to be telling with this story? So like for this one, God spoke to me and he said, first off, some of your flight lines were a little heavy the past two. And he's like, I want you to speak on the good that's still happening in the chaos. And so we came up with the beauty and the chaos for the overarching theme for this flight line. So for me, then we start looking at the stories, which stories tell that story. And so I start reaching out to people. Actually, you're the one who's been doing it for this flight line, reaching out to people and communicating that story and trying to hear like, yeah, there's chaos happening in Haiti. Their gangs are controlling everything, but God's still there. There's people being changed still. Mm-hmm. Let's tell that story so that the kingdom can keep being furthered in places like that. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what my day looks like. Obviously, graphic design, shooting videos, making Alan look great because he's a great dude. Yeah. So, it's a lot of this, and it's really just opening myself for people to communicate with people. One thing I sometimes get lost in what I do, and we'll have missionaries here and I won't even get to talk to them. And that's a discredit to them. Mm-hmm. I want to hear their stories. And so for me, that's something I have to work on, is making myself more available.
Yeah.
But as a one-man department, I'm limited. So it's been great having you here.
Say I'm your little assistant.
No, you're not my assistant. You're my equal. You've been doing so much incredible work. Thank you.
You're great, honestly. And just being able to, because obviously you guys don't know, I sit right next to him. And he is just the most diligent worker, truly. Like, you pour your heart into everything you create, and your passion just radiates. I know I've said that like 3 times, but it's just so true. And it's so inspiring to me. And just being able to see you, like, you're always thinking about the next thing and the next piece of content, the future, and trying to be so transparent with others and just reflect God's love through everything you do. And so I want to talk, one thing that you did start up here is the Agape Purpose Podcast that we're doing right now. So take me through like your calling with creating that.
Yeah. Truthfully, back before COVID, me and one of my closest friends, Ben Drumgold, he's actually one of my pastors at my church, Lift Church now. And we started a podcast studio called the Info Pilgrims Podcast Studio. And so I just fell in love with this medium. I think you get to tell stories in such an intimate and unique way that you really can't just get on with just a video or just, a 1-minute clip. You get to hear the heart of the person more. And so for me, it was a no-brainer, when I reached out to Alan and said, hey, do you think this is something we could do? And he said, absolutely. Like, this is what we're called to. Alan is so phenomenal in his explanation of, we're not an organization that's competing with other organizations for Christ. We're an organization that's trying to push other organizations. So for me, we get to do that with this podcast I get to reach out to missionaries. We just had Brian Berman on. We had Mark Stockland. We're going to have more missionaries on. We get to hear their stories so that they can further the kingdom as well. Mm-hmm. That's the whole purpose of this, is like, this is not about looking at me or looking at you, looking at the Brian Bermans, looking at the Bruces, because we know Bruce.
Of course,
Bruce,
we have to shout out Bruce.
But it's not about that. It is about the kingdom. And I think in everything we do, we get to showcase that. And hopefully it opens the heart for people that they're just like, I'm so called to help with that. Mm-hmm. And, especially here at Agape, we don't just have the donation aspects we have to cater to. We have incredible volunteers that we need.
Oh, I know.
Like, we have volunteers who work on our planes. We have volunteers who are packing here every day. We have volunteers who work the front desk. We have volunteers who help in the fight. Like, it is so volunteer driven that if we lost volunteers, like, we would not operate.
No.
Like, there's 13 of us that we can't do 13 jobs and then also the work of 105 volunteers a week. Mm-hmm. So for me, that is my purpose with this podcast. So, lack of better words.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of volunteers, I want to say, like, so you've been having me go out and do some volunteer spotlights and interview them. And that's just been so amazing to hear their heart. They're just so amazing. Like, I was thinking about it yesterday as I was like preparing what I wanted to say here. And I thought there's literally never a dull moment with anyone here in this organization, like staff, all the volunteers, everyone just gives you a smile, is so encouraging. Like, this organization is so amazing, and I'm like so blessed to be here. And I'm sad I only have a couple weeks left, but
you're always welcome here.
Thank you. No, you guys are like a family since day one that I met you. Pie in the Sky last spring, it was just so good. Like, it was like God was like, "This is your family. Like, you're gonna be here for this summer."
Didn't we put you to work within 5 minutes?
Yes,
like translating for us.
Info table. So if any of you guys recognize me, I was at the info table handing out some stickers. But yeah, it's been so good. But I want to kind of go back to what you were talking about with the flight line and the beauty and chaos. So I was wondering, how do you find beauty in chaos?
Yeah, I think one of the things that draws me most to marketing, communications, that whole field, is that we get to create something out of nothing. You know, for lack of better words, that is a very hard thing to do in any aspect of the world, because God's created everything. So again, you know, this is also God creating something through me, and there's no denying that. But it is so beautiful to hear stories, translate them so that people can feel them in a way that they normally wouldn't if it was just written on a piece of paper. For me, it's everything I write, everything that I produce, everything that is in front of a video. For me, I have a story mapped out in my head. And so for me, it's almost beautiful mindish, not beautiful chaos, but it's like I have these connections. I'm like, okay, if this story is going to tell this, I need the next story to tell that. And so for me, it's constantly looking at things that people would maybe cast off to the side, as I'm like, no, that's still beautiful in God. I want to find a way to utilize that because someone else didn't. Like, so for me, that would probably be the best way I would answer that question.
Oh, that's so good. I love it. And I feel like it can be hard sometimes, you know, because especially with communications, like, you see absolutely everything that's really going on, right? And so, like, to sometimes just shine a light in that can be hard, but I think you're doing a great job at doing that. And I love this theme, this Flightlines theme, and just being able to interview, like I did, you know, Matthew Laura Smith, like that from the Camp Haiti. That was just great. And then like the missionaries who come visit us, interacting with them has just been so special, because every day, I feel like I'm exposed to something new and I'm learning something new, shadowing you. So I've just taken away from this summer so much that I know I couldn't have gotten anywhere else, truly.
That's awesome.
So this has been just so great. And so I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
So what would you say would be like the biggest tip for, let's say, a young professional like myself entering the industry, or, you know, closely about to finish college, and they're wanting to go in, not necessarily what could be ministry as well, or just marketing communications in general? What would you say?
I've said this to you before, so you've heard it, but I think one of the most dangerous statements people say is life is short. I think life is not short. Obviously, there are outliers to that example. Like, I'm not going to deny that. Sometimes people are taking from us too soon, but life is not short. Don't try to cram everything in and you don't get to experience the people around you. For me, you've heard my story. There was so much transition. There was so much movement in my life that, because I just constantly felt like I needed to do something, keep feeling this, and there's relationships I left in the dust because I was so focused on trying to do everything, because I was told life is short. Life is short was one of those phrases that scared me to death, because it was just like, I don't know if I have tomorrow. And yeah, we don't know if we have tomorrow. Yeah. But if you're living so stressed about the next day, how are you going to experience what today has to offer? Yeah. And so for me, it's just take a breath, realize, hey, tomorrow's going to come regardless if I'm here or not, and still push through and just focus on what today has to offer. Build those relationships. Don't ever let a relationship get in the middle of, work or school, basketball, whatever it is that could potentially get in the way of it. Mm-hmm. If that person means so much to you, hold on to it. Work with them. Figure a way that to continue that communications with them. Because, again, that is not promised tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true. I love that. And that really resonates with me, too. I'm like a chronic planner as well. And I want to know, I'm like, God, please just tell me what the next 5 years of my life are going to look like, please. But it's just so amazing, because it's like, let's say freshman year, you would have thought, oh, Katie, you're going to be, you're the summer before, like your junior, senior year, like you're going to be interning at Agape, working in ministry. I would have never guessed that. But he just has showed me that he uses people's gifts and places them where, you know, he wants us to be. And now, like, I was talking to Sonia, our missionary care coordinator, about this the other day, about how, like, I'm so open to working in ministry if that's what God's calling me to do in the future. But now I can just rest assured that he has the plan for me. And I really don't have to worry about what tomorrow has in store because I know it's going to be good and he's going to work it out. So yeah, that was just
That's awesome.
A really good reminder.
Let me ask you something.
Okay.
So, what do you feel like you've gotten out of this internship?
Oh my gosh. Can I say everything? No, I've learned so much here literally in the 2 months, which was so short. And you would think like, what can you learn in 2 months? So much. I'd say for starters, the podcast here, being in the board in the back, I had never been on a podcast, really even listened to many podcasts, but now that's inspired me to listen to more. And working with more audio visual stuff, which I had only done like minor writing in school because, you know, I was getting those gen eds out of the way and going into my second semester as a junior, like that's kind of when the bulk of the coursework really starts. But I would say just being able to dive into that world, seeing how you video edit as well has been really cool. And then just telling more stories that have such purpose. You know what I mean? Like I said, interviewing the volunteers, doing mission partner spotlights, doing all that research and just getting poured into every day. Like everything that you have assigned me to do. Once again, I use the word purpose so much, but it's just so true because there is so much purpose in it. And I know, like you said, I'm doing it for God, not for me. And so, oh gosh, I just learned so much. And there's still more to learn, even in my little time left here. But also with cameras, I came in with like no camera experience. And now I'm less scared with like camera and video stuff. So when I go in the fall and I take those classes, I'm going to be like, oh, Jack, I remember Jack did teach me about that.
Jack taught me that completely wrong.
No. It's going to be the opposite.
Yeah.
But so I think just like a lot of clarity as well and being able to see what it looks like. You know, like I said, looking over your shoulder, seeing what you're doing on the computer, taking me through, just like what this industry really looks like. And so once I graduate in a year and a half, I do have a good idea of what it's going to look like. Although I don't think it'll be as good as it is here at Agape, but yeah.
You never know what's going to open doors. I think I'm just so blessed that you're my intern, and this has been a fun little exercise, and hopefully someone, you know, finds purpose through it, since that is the name of this podcast going forward. But I do want to finish with this: is if you could leave advice for someone, if you could leave advice for Katie from 2 months ago, what would you say to her?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would just say be open to anything, honestly, because you don't know like what doors are going to open. Like one door opens, the next one does. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even just 2 months ago, when was that? Like, I hadn't started here, obviously, but I just didn't know what God was going to do and how he was going to direct me. So I would just say, be in tune with God and his calling. Don't ignore it. And just be able to inspire others with that. Because that's like a testimony. You know what I mean? We live our lives and we have so many testimonies to tell. And this is one of them, truly. So I think I would just say that.
Okay. Sorry, I got one more question. I keep saying one more question, but no.
You're good.
What has been your favorite thing to learn?
Ooh, that's a good one. I feel like, this is hard because I'm gravitating towards saying writing because this is just such different writing that I haven't done before. And so that's been really nice. But I'm going to go back to the podcast thing because it was so new and like, it's just so interesting.
I love it.
And so I like looking forward to potentially incorporating that into my career, like whether that's there or even being here. I do like interviewing people and asking questions and being interviewed too, because I feel like I'm rarely on the other side of things, but it's fun.
It is.
So I could honestly go on about, because I feel like everything that I've learned is so meaningful and applies to the field. And it's just so fun because I love this whole world of like marketing communications. Yeah. I picked the right major.
No, I think it's to piggyback off that. A lot of people that I work with that are in this field, it's like, oh, I hate being behind camera. And it's like, this is not the field for you then.
No.
Like, you don't just get to be in like holding a camera, writing the story. Like, sometimes you have to be the one to tell the story. Like, it is a calling to be in this position. Like, this is not something that you can just wake up and do, because if it was, that's just me waking up and doing a job. No, when you're called into ministry, it is something completely different. It is something that you have to wake up and say, God, guide me, because it should not be wake up and be like, all right, what is Jack going to do for Agape Flights? No, I have to look at when I content plan, I say, okay, God, what are you going to do through me for Agape Flights for this week? That's what this ministry is all about.
It really is. Yeah. That was actually one of my questions. I was going to ask you, like, how do you stay in tune with that? Because it's a big part of it. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's not like, you know what it's like being in corporate and then coming here. Like, it kind of turns it around. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, what does everyone else want? Like this and that. But now it's just, no, what does God want for this? Because you're representing Agape and God, truly. Yeah. So that's just, it's so incredible. Yeah. Honestly.
If you know me, it's, hey, like, I'm not active on social media. Like, I don't post a lot for my
Me neither.
And you'll know that with communications people, but I guarantee you, we're sitting there going through the scrolls because that's our job. We have to know, hey, this is what people are resonating with. But we don't want to post on our own personal platform.
Exactly. No, that's really the same thing. Like, I didn't get social media until last year. And everyone's like, what? And I have like a job and I do social media. And that's a part of the reason I got it. I was like, I gotta like familiarize myself with it a little bit. But exactly. It's kind of like in our personal life, we push it aside because it's what we do, I guess, professionally. Yeah. Well, not really me yet, but you.
Oh, you will.
Yeah. And so I think that's just funny. Yeah. But definitely you have to be a jack of all trades. Like that's what my professors always say in this industry. And it's so true. And just always one thing you've taught me is to evolve with the industry because it's ever evolving. And with AI and all that stuff, like you've just taught me you have to always be learning. It's not like I get my degree. Okay, I'm going to apply everything I learned. I don't need to learn anything else. No, it's like an everyday learning process. And the life advice you've given me too. I'm like, I'm telling you guys, there's so much. So it's been the team building, like being able to eat lunch with all of you guys. It's been so incredible how I was integrated since day one, like so completely. So
now you're eating lunch with Sonia every day.
I know. She made me Thai curry yesterday, and it was delicious. Sonia, thank you. I love you.
And again, that's just when what drew me to this organization, because obviously, I knew it as a young person, is the fact is, I had an interview with Carol and Alan, but then I had a director's meeting, and it was never of like basically an attack on my qualifications or anything, because of course they asked those questions, but it was so resonated on like, how are you going to incorporate who you are into this family? A big thing, Bruce, I will always remember this question that Bruce asked, and he's going to love that he got mentioned twice now, but he said, you're coming from such a straight-laced white-collar background where, you worked in an organization, you worked with small businesses where numbers were what drove me. Like, obviously, like in marketing and communications, analytics are important.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, that's not what drives a mission. Ooh. So he's like, what drives you? And again, this wasn't me, this was God. And I said, the difference between working in a ministry and working for a small business is, in the small business, I'm chasing the analytics. Here, I'm chasing how many lives did we change?
Oh my gosh.
That's the difference between those two jobs. And so for me, I always just resonate and go back to that, because it's like, again, if you would have asked me that question, I would have been like, I don't know. Right. I just go back to it as like, this is what God told me. He's like, this is what you're going to be doing. You're chasing how many lives are you changing for his kingdom instead of that analytics. Now, I won't lie. I still chase the analytics because that's just who I am. But
it just comes along, the job.
But that's the overarching theme of everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I didn't know that. That's so amazing. Bruce is going to be so happy when he watches this.
We're going to, he's got a contract apparently now.
Oh, he does.
So I don't know if he's going to be back on. Apparently we can't afford him anymore.
That is true. Oh gosh. You could definitely tell that was just totally God speaking through you. And if it wasn't like, I feel like if I got asked that question, I'd like freeze.
I would.
What?
It takes a lot to freeze me, and I would have frozen on that question. But like, again, it was just, this was 100% driven by God to call me here. Like, I just leaned into it. And I was like, God, lead me with these answers.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. You tell you're just like perfect for the job. You know what I mean?
You're
so
too kind to me, Katie. I need some. Where's the gotcha questions? I've been waiting for some gotcha questions from you, Katie.
I don't have any.
Oh man.
No, you're honestly great. You're such a good mentor, honestly. I have a feeling you might get some emails today about, can I intern with you?
Hey, listen, we're more than willing to teach anyone.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, we'll close on this because I do want to say this so you can have this for posterity's sake. That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
It has been such a blessing to have you here.
Thank you.
Truly has. You have a heart of gold. You have a heart that's willing to learn, which is worth any experience in the world. It truly is. Don't lose that spark where you're like, I'm here to learn. I'm here to figure it out with you or whatever. I mean, there's times I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, hold on, Katie, let's figure this out. And you're just right there like, okay, what can I do to help? And seriously, hold on to that because, again, you came in with very little experience. I think you're coming out with a lot of experience, but you're still coming out with that heart that is like, I just want to learn. So thank you. Thank you from me, from the whole organization for being here. And I just love that, I got to be on the other side of the interview
for once. I know after like so many episodes, this was fun for me because I know everybody wanted to know about you. Like, Jack, you don't know anything about him. Wait, one more thing though. Okay. How do you say your name? Some people might be wondering that.
So my real name is Jacques. And the way to say that is basically say Z before you say jock. So like think of a jock strap, put a Z before it, and that's how you say my name, Jacques. And yeah, that's the real name.
Okay, we got it then. See, now everyone knows who Jacques is.
If you want to hear some funny stories about how people have butchered my name, come to the hangar and I will tell you stuff that will have you rolling on the ground. I guarantee it.
Oh, I love that. It was a pleasure, Jack.
Thank you, Katie.
It was so amazing.
Any other questions before we wrap this up?
Okay, I do have one.
Oh, I love it.
This one's actually really.
I love that we're both like
one more. Yeah, well, I know one more. It just doesn't stop with us. Obviously, this podcast is called the Agape Purpose. So, what does the Agape Purpose mean to you?
The easy answer is to obviously say we're to serve the kingdom of God, but I'd love to echo what Larry Peterson says, and that's to change lives. Again, if we're not here to change lives for the kingdom of God, then we're ignoring the calling of this ministry.
Yeah.
Me, Greg, Alan, we all like to joke. Everyone here likes to joke. I just use those three because we like to joke. I left someone out for a reason because he's already been mentioned enough. No, but we love to joke just like that. Like we like to keep it light here because what we do can be sometimes harrowing and but the purpose is never changed. Agape's gone through many seasons of leadership, but the message, the mission has never changed. It has always been about serving our ministries so that they can serve the kingdom of God. If we do that, we're following God's will, and there is no safer place than to be in the center of God's will.
Definitely. Yeah, I love that. I love that quote. I think, we don't change because the mission isn't changed. You know what I mean? So it's just so powerful and such an incredible reminder daily coming here, you know what I mean? And just knowing that you're working to change people's lives, right? It's not just work to get it done because I have to work. No, it's like you get to change these people's lives through the Lord. So that's just so amazing.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully there was something you got out of this conversation with me and Katie. Again, we're so thankful for you, Katie, and everything you've brought to this organization.
I'm so thankful for you and Agape. You guys, I love you guys. Like, I'm taking so much away. You guys just made this summer truly one of the best ones of my life. So I love you guys.
Well, I think that's how we're going to end. Thank you guys so much, and God bless you.